Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bravery Behind the Brand podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Jane, and today I have with me Chantal Shears. Hello, Chantal.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me. And we've been trying to get together for months due
Yeah.
to our mad, hectic schedule. So I'm really glad that Chantal can join me today. So, Chantal is a trauma-informed practitioner, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. And nervous system mentor, and I'm really curious to understand that and what it is exactly you do. But before we get to all that juicy stuff, do you have a favorite motivational song?
Yes, I do. I don't know if you would class it as a motivational song or not, but the one that comes to mind for me is Under Pressure by Queen. I, I just love that one. And it gets me sort of in the mode and gets me going again.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think that you're not alone.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I love Freddie Mercury so much. I've always been a huge fan. And honestly, if there's ever anything on the TV, sort of, remembering him, or if the song comes on, to this day, I still tear up because I just loved him so much.
Yeah.
He's just one of life's amazing characters. But yeah, I love that one. That's going on the playlist. And do you have a motivational quote? Not everyone does, but do you happen to have one?
Well, yeah. So it is if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good one.
nice and
You just got to
simple.
keep going, haven't you?
Yeah.
Just keep. Oh, you've got four boys, did you say?
Yeah,
Yeah,
four
yeah.
boys.
So you must have
Yeah.
seen Finding Nemo, is it? Where the fish goes, just keep swimming, keep swimming.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And
Oh,
the other quote that I do say, well, this may be a bit negative, but I always think this too shall pass.
oh
So
yeah,
if say I'm having a bit of a tricky moment with the boys or anything, I just think this too shall pass. It's
yeah,
okay, it'll be fine.
yeah. That's so good to hang on to. And I remember putting on Facebook when COVID first hit and we all got sent home. And I remember putting up, there was something floating around at the time and it said, "This too shall pass like a kidney stone, but it shall pass."
Yeah.
And it did. It was tough. It was tough, and we're still sort of feeling the legacy. But yeah, everything has a beginning and a middle and an end, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So but yeah, this too shall pass. I could hear your dog.
Yeah,
What's
I'm
your dog
so
called?
sorry. A
It's okay.
typical
What's it called?
Marlowe.
Oh,
Marlowe.
Marla. That's so
Yeah.
cool. That's so cool. And do you read?
Yes, yeah. So I'm an avid reader. So normally I have about two or three books on the go.
Amazing.
So yeah, and I've just set myself a challenge actually for this year to read 60 books, and I'm on schedule. So yeah, so that's
60
good.
books. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How do you find the time?
Well, I just sort of try and prioritize it because I know that it's beneficial to me and it's part of like downtime for me. So I just put that in. And admittedly, I don't really watch any telly. I don't really get the remote, if I'm honest. So I just sort of read quite a lot. But yeah, I absolutely love it. So I
Yeah.
read both fiction and non-fiction. But yeah, I'm always with a book.
And do you read physical books or Kindle or audiobooks?
Oh, always physical. Oh no, actually, I've just so last year I just started reading, well, listening on an audio when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, my preference is a physical book. There's something about the smell and
I
just
know.
holding the book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like them all. I've got a Kindle audiobooks and I like physical books. Usually, if it's something educational or non-fiction, I still like holding a book and I like
yeah,
putting in a little tab or something to remind me. But yeah, I've always been a keen reader. But yeah, it's just amazing, and it's nice that you've always got another world to disappear into. But that's
oh,
really good. And you live somewhere absolutely glorious, and you probably live in one of my dream destinations. You live right by the sea in Cornwall. Oh,
yeah,
you're so lucky.
yeah.
Oh,
Thank
what's
you.
that like? Well, I don't even need to ask. Are you really close to the beach? Can you go every day?
Yeah, so walking distance probably 12 minutes. Like drive it's probably two. Um, yeah, it's just lush. So we see the sea every day, pretty much.
That is
And
an incredible place
yeah,
to bring up your boys.
Yeah, it's
Amazing. Oh,
yeah,
oh,
it's
that
really
is.
lovely
I would
to the
I would
point
kill for that.
sometimes.
When I lived in Ireland, we weren't too far from the sea. It was like a 45-minute drive. It was always my favorite place to go. Um,
Oh,
to the sea and the Mourne Mountains, and they were all in one place. And I always just feel like I get called to go, and I miss it so much. But where we are now, it's not quite as it's not
yeah.
quite as distance wise a bit longer, but I do miss it. But you
Oh,
are so incredibly lucky. That is amazing.
oh, thank you.
On to you and your incredible business, and I'm just so interested in all the psychology and things behind it. So tell me about it and who or what inspired you to start it.
So, I had my boys quite close together, and I just finished being a primary school teacher. And then I read a book where I don't when my youngest was quite small, and it was all about the nervous system, but from a child, from having children, and it was absolutely fascinating. It really got me into sort of the neuroscience behind it. But during that time and a bit before, I noticed myself, I wasn't maybe as present as I'd like to be, and just different things like that. And I knew I had to keep going out at the time. So I was constantly walking and those sorts of things, making sure I was outside with the boys. And that massively helped me. But then obviously from reading this book, it sort of made sense as to why it helped me, because I was regulating my nervous system. So I wasn't then feeling anxious or stressed or overwhelmed. I was able to regulate and keep myself grounded. And then that helped me to be more present for my children and more connected. And then fast forward a couple of years, and then I trained to be a trauma informed practitioner. Um, but I did maybe think I was going to go back to schools to implement this, but I decided not to. And again, that was fascinating as well, and that was even more about nervous system regulation. And it sort of has just gone on from there, really. And yeah, yeah, I love it. I find it really, really fascinating. And what I love about it is that some of the tools that you can use are just really, really simple. And that's what I think I like about it, is that there there is simplicity to it, but how it will obviously make a profound difference when we use those tools and those skills in our daily life.
Hmm.
So yeah.
It's so interesting, isn't it? If you just pick up a book and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this
Yeah.
is the thing, this is the thing. And anything to sort of do with the brain and neuroscience and anything like that is just so interesting for me.
Yeah.
And so how long ago was that?
Oh gosh, so I think my son, he was only about one, so that was 9 years ago. And then when I did my trauma informed training, that was maybe 6 years ago, I think. So it's been quite a while. And now, actually, I've got to say, I'm also training to be a psychotherapist. So it was all linked in again.
Yeah, yeah, it's just like a stepping stone, isn't it?
Yeah,
From one thing to the next thing, which just leads naturally to where you want to go. So
yeah.
with all of that, I suppose you're learning something new, but also knitting together the things that you already knew. So what would you say was the biggest challenge then on that journey?
Um, I think at the start it was just, obviously you know the skills and you understand why you should be doing certain things, but it's just, I guess, for my own personal self, just making sure that you carry on implementing them. And say one day you don't put in as many tools as maybe you should, so you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed or anxious or however you're feeling, but just to remember to just keep on going, keep trying, and then it will eventually get easier. And also, I think for me at first it was the time, like, oh my gosh, how can I fit certain things in? I'm already busy raising my boys, um, and those sorts of things. But actually, when I did push myself and put in that time, it actually made it easier, and I had more time, if that made sense. So I simplified and lost certain things I was doing, um, in order to make place for the things that I knew would be of a benefit, and that greatly helped, so that then I had more time, if that makes sense.
So it kind of took care of the overwhelm maybe and just
Yeah.
gave you the things that were important in that moment rather than all the cluttered stuff. You knew what it
Yes.
was that you needed to kind of focus on. No, it's just so fascinating. So if you were going back to the beginning then, and when you say trauma informed, um, I don't know really what that means. So what would that mean to someone who'd never sort of come across that term before?
Oh, so I'm just doing my plug, but I am here. My battery's just about to go. There you go. I've just done it. So to be trauma informed, so it's in order to help someone, i.e., a child or an adult who has had um, trauma in their life or is having trauma in their life, and it's being able to um, be there for that person in order to help them to regulate their nervous system. So, if, say, you've had some trauma or you're going through a traumatic situation, you can be in that fight or flight or freeze scenario, and you cannot, or you, it's very hard for you to regulate your emotions because you're always at that stress level. So when you're trauma informed, you're coming alongside that person or that child, teaching them tools in order to help them to um, no longer be at that stress level so that they can then regulate their emotions. And it's also teaching them how to know their different emotions as well, because some people, they are always just in that stress situation. So it may be that, you know, they're always looking to run as such, you know, that flight. And so you're having to sort of teach them about, you know, how are you feeling right now? Okay, let's look at what we can do to bring you down, to calm your nervous system so that you are no longer in that stress state. Because when we're in a state like that, when our nervous system is dysregulated, we're not able to function the way that we should as such. You know, we're always sort of looking over our shoulder. We're, you know, we may not be able to sleep properly. We may find that we're getting ill quite often, for example. We may feel that, you know, even the smallest tasks we have to do, we're struggling to do them. We may have brain fog, for example. All of those things can be signs that we are in that high stress alert. And for some people and children, sadly, they are so used to being in that sort of state that they don't recognize it. They don't realize in a way that they are in that state, for example. So when you are trauma informed, you can come alongside a person or a child and teach them and show them tools that can help them to regulate their nervous system and to help them to feel calm again and connected. And yeah, I could go on about this forever.
I know, it's so interesting. And I was just thinking, how receptive then are children to that? Because obviously you'd approach it different to an adult as you would to a child. So how receptive are children and how would you go about it? Would you know, how would that what would that look like?
So it depends on child by child and how old the child is. Um, so it would depend, but you would start obviously very slowly, depending on how the child is, what sort of state they're in their stress levels, in their deregulation. But you would start just by coming alongside them at first and being able to slowly gain their trust, that you are a person that they can sort of confide in, that you are a person that is there to help them. And then once you've sort of gained their trust and they understand that you are and it's called an emotionally available adult, so someone that they can just sit with and come alongside, then that can obviously help them immensely. And then that's when the work starts. So then you can, you know, if they are, you know, if for example, I'll go back to my teaching days. So if a child comes into school and they're really they come in quite angry and stressed and frustrated, then you can, as their emotionally available adult, you can go up to that child, maybe take them outside, play a few games with them, just do things that that will work with that particular child in order to then bring down their stress level so that they can feel calm again, and then they can start to feel regulated. And then it's the same for a grown up. So for example, I would have a conversation with an adult, talk about how they're feeling, and look into maybe why they're feeling certain ways, look into their schedule already, and then together come up with a bespoke plan, giving them tools that will fit around their life already, because obviously we're already busy juggling lots of things already. But then through that, then we can come up with a plan that will work for them. And in that plan will be tools that they can use daily, hourly, however often they need, which will again help them to calm their nervous system down and to regulate them. So it could be, for example, things such as having a morning routine. So, you know, instead of just getting up, maybe, rushing to do, the to-do list straight away, getting the kids to school or whatever it may be that you get up slightly earlier, but that you sit down with a cup of coffee and you have a nice breakfast, for example, just to, ground yourself, maybe you may write in a journal, for example. And then like little tools like that throughout the day that don't have to take very long, but they can make a massive difference. And the other thing, what you can do is, I can't remember the stat now, which is frustrating, but generally people and children, they only have, I think it's a range of 4 emotions. That's it, that they can name. Obviously, there are a lot more emotions than that, but it's just checking in with yourself, and thinking, how am I feeling today? What's going on for me? What emotion is that? And getting curious around it. Why am I feeling like that? Is there a certain reason behind it? And then from that, then you can go further. Okay, I'm feeling like this today. It may be that I'm feeling a bit anxious because I've got a particular meeting later on. Okay, what can I do in order to make myself feel less anxious? Right, before the meeting, I'm going to take a half-hour lunch break, for example, and I'm going to sit down with a proper lunch, nice drink, just to get myself nice and calm before I do that meeting, for example. So it's just putting in those tools and working with that person to put in those tools, which can then help them to regulate their nervous system.
I'm smiling because I'm just identifying with everything that you said. And I've not heard that term before and I've written it down. Emotionally available adult. And
Yeah,
and I just think, wow, what a difference that makes in a child's life.
yeah,
I'm thinking back to when my girls were little, and I used to create spaces where we would just pile on the bed on a Saturday morning, and we just didn't go anywhere. We just sit and chat, and I'm mentally thinking, was I an emotionally available adult, and I've got a brilliant relationship with my girls, and we talk a lot, and I'm thinking, yeah, I must have done something right, but some people just don't know, and they're busy and they've got other things in their lives and they're doing their best, they can't fit it in. But then when you said about sitting down and having your breakfast and for your, there's what they say when you're on a plane, you need to put your own mask on before you put your child's on.
yeah,
And there's just so many things that we're all trying to juggle as busy parents, because I believe truly everyone's trying to do the very best.
yeah,
But everything's such a rush, and there's so many things to worry about today, for example, in this very moment, there's so many things to worry about. And if you just stop to take a breath and think, what does that world look like through the eyes of your child?
yeah,
That, and if you did stop for a moment, and it's pretty scary,
yeah,
especially if parents and carers are even more running around busy and doing stuff. And then when you said stop to ask yourself, how are you feeling?
mm,
I'm an empath, and I read somewhere that sometimes I don't know my own feelings because I'm feeling everybody else's.
yeah,
And that really stopped me dead because sometimes I didn't know myself, but that's a whole other thing to study.
Yeah,
And now I have to actually think to myself, is this how I'm feeling, or am I feeling this way because of X, Y, Z? And there's so many things that you need to, you can, people like you that sort of draw our attention to these things, and it's just so interesting, and you just can't do it all on a podcast. But I'm just that fascinated by everything you said. But even if that what you said just shines a light and creates that awareness on anybody listening, I just think it's a fantastic thing to sort of shine a light on, because
yeah,
just having that fraction of awareness means that we can do a little bit more research, or stop and check in with ourselves. And, how am I feeling? What do I need? What am I not doing for myself so that I can help, children, other people in the family, or whatever. But yeah, it is. It's just such a fascinating subject.
yeah.
So if you could give yourself one piece of advice when starting this journey, what would it be? Because I'm thinking you must have taken on such a lot of issues. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what piece of advice would you have given yourself?
Um, to be kind to myself, to just um, not want things to happen yesterday, just to sort of go with the process, but to do it in a way that I am kind to myself. I guess so. For example, we can quite easily, berate ourselves like, oh, we didn't, why did you do it this way? Or you should have done it so that this website or whatever it is be made quicker, for example. But I think we need to just give ourselves a break. I know I do sometimes, sometimes, and just realize that things will happen when they're meant to happen, but during the journey, just to be kind to ourselves, and that will take a lot of the pressure off. And obviously, like what we were talking earlier about our emotions, that will make a massive impact.
Mhm.
When we're kind to ourselves and we give ourselves that grace, and we think about, right, what do I need right now? Then that will, feed out to those around us too.
And I still think there's a little part of us that feels that selfish.
Yeah.
I do, and I try not to sort of make that link, but I know that I have. You think, oh, I can't do this because that's selfish, because the children need this, or the family needs that. But I see it more and more now on social media, and it's becoming more absorbed in our language, and I love it. The
Mm.
self-care, and the more that gets out there, that it's not selfish, it's important. And I still come back to that mask on the plane. You need to put your own mask on before you do that. But yeah, checking in with yourself, making sure that you're okay, because if you're not looking after yourself and you break, the consequences of that are
Yeah.
worse than, you sort of just carrying on and carrying on. But yeah, it is important to be kind to yourself as well as everybody else. So moving on to a little bit more lighter now. Social media, excuse me, and your audience. How comfortable are you showing up for your audience, and do you dance on social media?
No, I'm not a dancer. No, no way. No, no, I'm
I
not a
think your
dancer.
boys would forgive you if you danced on social media.
No, no, I don't think they would. I've just started. Sometimes I'll like do videos. I do find them. I can't look at them back. Like I find them quite cringy. But I will, talk into a video, for example. But I am a bit of an ummer. I'll have quite a few ums in there. But
Everybody does. Everybody does, honestly. It's and you just got to do it. And I know you may right not watching yourself back, but you've just got to do it. And what I would say is, in the age of AI, the quirks and the personality that is us, that is precious,
yeah,
because you can't do perfect, you can't do glossy, and ums and ahs, and I'm a very handsy person. That's just me. But just do it. Doesn't matter about the ums, just do it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Thank you.
So you're comfortable showing up, you just don't like watching yourself back.
No, yeah, I don't like watch myself, but I'm like, oh no.
But you have the most beautiful accent. And
Oh, thank
that's so
you.
it's something I get it comes up every now and again with a podcast about people's accents. And there was a lady from Newcastle, Pontine with the most glorious Geordie accent.
Oh,
And she was talking about trying to sort of minimize her accent. I was like, what? Why? That's the best thing about you. But yours, because of where you live, and it's just, I could listen to it all day.
oh,
It
thank
just,
you.
it invokes holidays and sun and maybe smuggling and mystery, because of all those dramas. By the say, it honestly, it's just very comforting accent, and it just sounds really, really lovely.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
what's next for you and your brand? Where do you see it going?
So I'm just in the process of finishing my website, so that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think, yeah, so next steps will be, so I'm just putting together, doing a VIP version of my one-to-one that I offer. And then I'm hoping in the not too near future to do a membership so that people can have access and tools available to them to regulate their nervous system. And then, I'll do it in a nice, easy breezy sort of way. So it's not too a heavy task. They can just sort of slot it into their lives as such. So that's the next step, basically. Yeah.
That's nice. Is that going to be targeted to parents, or is that just for anyone?
um Pretty much anyone, I think, at the minute. Yeah. So
I
I
think
there, I might do one that is slightly more targeted to parents. I haven't worked that bit out yet at the minute. I might
Mhm.
do too.
No, that's brilliant, and I could see a lot of people leaning into that and benefiting from it, and like we're talking about that awareness. People will just be like, "Oh, I need that." So yeah, I wish you luck with that. That sounds fantastic.
Oh, thank
And
you.
where can we find out more about you online?
So, yeah, so I will be keeping my domain. So you can find me at www.grounded-pathways.com. I've got some freebies in there too. And also on social media, I'm Chantal Shears, lower dash mentor on Instagram.
I will put those links on the show notes of the
Thank you.
podcast, and I look forward to seeing all the wonderful things from you. It's just, and you've just explained it in such a really nice way as well,
Oh,
and
thank
it's just,
you.
I think a lot of people are fascinated by all of that. So thank you so much for explaining that, and thank you so much for coming on my podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been lovely. Thank
Oh,
you.
brilliant! Thank you.